Hey, what's up everybody? Marcello here from Gamers Xtreme, and today we're going to be covering a review for the BittBoy. So this device, this particular version, since it's an updated model, actually lets you play NES, Game Boy, and Game Boy Color games right off of a micro SD card that you can put right in. So we're going to unbox this, show what it looks like inside, and then we're also going to compare this newer model with the older model that they had before this and showcase the differences. And I'll also be comparing emulation with Game Boy games running off of actual Game Boy Advance hardware. So yeah, let's get right to it. So here's the box. It's a nice small size. Definitely looks like it reflects that of the original Game Boy design with the colored buttons like that. So here you have that it supports a micro SD card. The fact that it has NES, Famicom, Game Boy Color, and Game Boy games that it supports, headphone jack, there's a save state option, it's a 2.4-inch IPS screen, and battery life's about 2 to 3 hours, and it does come with the cables, the composite cables to plug it into the TV if you want to play on there as well. So let's just unbox this so you can see an idea. Now, I have already taken this out of the box, I just put it back in, mostly because I popped in the SD card already with the games on there. So this over here is the micro SD adapter. Yeah, so here's micro SD adapter. It even comes with an 8 gig micro SD right here. So not bad. Comes with something already. And then here is the BittBoy itself. So as you can see, if I put it in the palm of my hands, just to have an idea. Yeah, it's small, but honestly it has a nice feel to it. Side by side, very, very slight difference in height. And then let's see what else is in the box. Alright, so this is empty. Put that down here. And this should be the charger. Yep. So here is micro USB cable for it. And the AV cables to connect as well. Okay, so with this model, the BittBoy, as you can see on the top here, is a little micro SD slot, and the power button is here, so I'll flick that on. Underneath, here's the charging port, and here's the headphone jack that you can also use for the AV cables. So what's interesting is that this model does not have a volume control on the side. As you can see, the original model here had a volume control right here. The original version also had what looked like a micro SD port, but I can assure you if you open this up, there's nothing there. So if you put in a card, kind of just fell through and you were kind of screwed unless you opened it up. So, all right, so when you turn this thing on, here's the menu. So it shows you, here's the NES emulator, the Game Boy emulator, and Game Boy Color. So this does support pretty much any ROMs that you can find. So let's see NES. Okay, so I gotta get used to the buttons here. So let's see something like, let's see. I'll do a game that's actually on the other BittBoy, because the older BittBoy had games already on there. This is solely, you get your own ROMs and pop them in. But I'll do Batman, because that was on the original one. So we'll compare how they look. So here's Batman. Start. Now what's interesting is controlling the audio. You actually hold the select button and B and A control the audio. So it's pretty loud actually if you hear it up front. if you hit the R button, which would be basically the reset button, like you'll see over here that there are save states. So if you click on that, you could choose up to 3 save states. Mode, you could actually choose if you want full screen or not full screen. So if I go back, then it's a little bit more of a 4:3 ratio. Okay, and that goes widescreen. And the other thing is display. If you have the cables connected, then you could switch it right to TV that way. One word of warning though, if you do switch to TV and back out of the menu, it'll be a completely black screen. So the other thing is if you want to get back out of the game, you actually have to hold the R button when you're in gameplay. Doing so when you're actually in the menu there won't let you do anything. So, so that's how Batman runs on here. In comparison, let's just quickly see a side-by-side of how it ran on the original BittBoy. So here is the original one. So pretty similar. Audio sounds about right. And believe me, this is a game you'll tell from the music alone. So that's that. So that's just to get an idea. The next thing I want to showcase is actually Game Boy games. I can already hear that the audio is definitely off on this one. Okay, so let's see how it is with the actual hardware. Yeah, so the audio already sounds better on the original hardware. Okay, so let's try a Game Boy Color game. Let's do Tony Hawk Pro Skater. Yeah, so you could tell the audio is obviously better on the original hardware.
Okay, so the last thing I wanted to showcase was if you do connect the AV cables it comes with to your TV, you can output the device to run off of your TV. Right off the bat, I did tweak with some of my TV settings, but it does not fully match the aspect ratio of the TV. So you'll see that at the bottom there, it's cutting out the enter, last, next, like the button display down below. That is not me cutting it off on the camera. That is exactly how it is framed. So if I try to go into a game, let's see how it actually looks. So you can control the volume on the TV for it, obviously, but you do have to control the volume through the device as well. As you saw, I had to really raise it just to hear it, but this wasn't maxed out either. So okay, so it looks like Battletoads does not work on the NES. Interesting. That's a shame. All right, let's try something else. That's the first game I've come across emulator-wise that did not work. Let's try Castlevania. All right, so at least the games are fitting the 4:3 ratio a little bit better than the main menu is, which would make sense. The main menu does take up the full screen on the BittBoy itself. All right, so let's just see something. So if I change it to full, yeah, so full actually cuts it off within the 4:3 frame that it creates. So definitely playing in default mode is preferred. But then again, all retro purists will play in the 4:3 ratio for sure. All right, let's check out some Game Boy games. Let's see, let's try Bomberman. Oh, that's not good. Oh, never mind. All right, let's see how it is with the full display. Yeah, so full display does cut off the bottom heads-up display, and just the whole aspect ratio is completely off that way. So if you're going to play on the TV, stick strictly to the default mode. All right, so let's even see a Game Boy Color game. So let's try Perfect Dark. While nowhere near as good as its N64 counterpart, it was actually a pretty impressive Game Boy Color game back then. So there's no gameplay audio when you're actually controlling Joanna. No voice sample. Normally you can hear like the enemy go down. There's like no audio. It's only for the menus or the times where Carrington calls you. So music's there. Oh, there was no music in the main game either. So the original version, there was no music during actual gameplay, just menus. But yeah, there's no audio here. So that's a shame. So yeah, emulation's not perfect.
So I keep mentioning about the audio, but another example to showcase with audio is how on the BittBoy, it seems to be running at a slower rate than original hardware. I tested this out with a variety of games. Turok 3 is one of them, Tony Hawk Pro Skater 3 is another, both of which I noticed were definitely slower. See, that just sounds really slow.
All right, let's see how it runs on original hardware. So much faster, much more. So the final verdict, is the BittBoy worth getting? Well, it is an upgrade from the previous model, letting you put your own ROMs for NES, Famicom, Game Boy, and Game Boy Color games. However, it does seem like the performance is pretty poor in terms of audio for the Game Boy Color games, and that's tested through a variety of Game Boy Color games. Game Boy games do seem to be running a little bit better, and NES games for the most part run fine, except for that example of Battletoads that just doesn't even get past the title screen, or the stage select screen rather. That being said, they are selling this for $40 currently as an early promotion. It will be going up to about $60 after the promotion's over. If you are interested in the device, I did leave a link down below in the description. However, my personal take, while I think the BittBoy is a cool looking sleek device, it's also in need of a lot more work to get it to where it needs to be. In its current state, it's okay, but it could definitely be better.